Hello and welcome to another one of them fancy newfangled live streams or something. I am just going to do a little bit of painting today, I think. There might be a few odd things here and there that we can talk about, but the big thing is getting some painting done. So I'm still just setting up my wet palette, so while I do that, give everyone a moment to arrive. I didn't set my stream up at the usual time, so probably the notifications have gone out super late again, and I apologise for that. I have had the case where people have been sent the notifications after the live stream is finished, which kinda sucks. Need to get some water in there. Straight from the paint pot. Paint pot? The paint water. Ah. There we go. And a nice new piece of baking paper for the wet palette as well. See if we can see it curling up on the camera. Probably. And then it folds back. Just an oddity of, of mini painting, I guess. I need to redo the colouring on my paintbrushes. I also need to properly scrub out some of them because, good grief, that poor one's a mess. This is the one I've been using a lot recently, and it's started to fray at the end. That's probably the best one at the moment. Right, well, before I start painting, before I pick a brush, I should probably work out what we're going to paint today. I have quite a few options. And all of them are Konflikt 47, unsurprisingly. I actually have one of the British automatons built up. I think I built this on the last live stream, didn't I? Last week. I have the rest of them somewhere around here. One of them's already been seconded to something else. One of them is already not an automaton. The others probably will still be automatons, but I have not built them yet. I've just built the one. I also have the Nacht Alban, the Night Terrors. I could probably paint all of their leatherwork, get that sorted. And then here I have the Schwertruppen, heavy troopers. So these ones are finished. I've got a few just hanging around so that I can remind myself of how I paint them. But then I've got 3 new ones. They've had all the base coats in the wash, which has gone on really quite dark. I remember the original when I did these ones. The wash went on very dark there as well. So that's not necessarily unusable. I also have over here, if I grab this other box, a whole bunch of Americans. A whole bunch of Americans. More than at least 20. At least 20. I don't know exactly how many. Mostly Fireflies. We have a mech commander and the linebacker mech here as well. And we have 2 iterations of Roberta Wells. So there's the original version, and then here we go. Here is the later Firefly version. So that one's got Firefly pack. This one does not. She has just a rucksack of tech stuff. Who knows? Who knows what that could be? I think we should start easy. And nothing's easier than painting some belts. So let's grab the Nachthalben and paint some belts. Just noticing the tone of the base is quite a bit different. Because that's my usual basing. These guys are almost more red. It makes sense that there's red because I airbrushed the skin so the base was covered in red. That would explain it. As long as I dry brush the green over that, it will not be an issue. I hope. Right, how are we for focus? Let's drag that up a tiny bit. Yeah, about there. That'll do nicely. And we want brown, I guess. Boring brown. And that's... Get back here. Dropping my paints all over the floor. Right, now I can pick a paintbrush, because I know I need a sharp paintbrush this time. Not you. Not you. Start with that one and go on to that one if it's not sharp enough. Where's my... And that is my phone that I forgot to turn on silent. I swear I did turn you on silent. Maybe that'll be it. Still navigating the new phone in some ways. Right then. So we've got belt pouches, and we've also got a kind of almost a yoke. It actually kind of looks like the infantry yoke, but way more heavy duty. But we've got some magazines on his back, some smaller pouches on the belt. I'm not seeing anything else that we need to worry about, so let's just run through that. Hello, Nathan. Why does the current song sound like something from Dynasty Warriors? A lot of the I don't know exactly which track that it was playing when you said that, but there's a few odd there's a stylistic overlap between a couple of these creators. It's all from the YouTube's audio library. It'll either be... Let me just bring up my music folder. Nefex, Ethan Maxwell, or Dan Hennig. It'd be one of those three, because those are the ones I use the most. But between them, there's quite a few different styles. And some of them do tend to sound like other things, kind of inspired by other media or like other styles of music. I like it. It's a wide variety of stuff. I'm not convinced about that colour of belt. It is the colour I use for most of my Germans, and it does stand out nicely against the uniforms. However, it might not stand out well against the skin, because I've done a very, as you can see, purple and brownish tan coloured skin. So having this light brown leather that is tonally very similar and in value very similar, I am alright. I am doing okay. Winter sucked this year more than usual, but I'm out of it now, I think, or at least mostly. I have got, I won't be building them on this stream, but I have got all of the vehicle sprues as well that I looked at recently. What have I got nearby? I've got the Lee at my feet. Yeah, I don't think that's too much of a problem, actually. By the time I've highlighted the skin, which will have more red in it again, it's going to come away. Because this brown is a fairly neutral brown, right? So I think we'll be alright with that one. If we're not alright with that one, it doesn't take too long to repaint the the webbing. Just paint it a darker brown, probably. Same story here. We've got belt, the yoke. We've got the attachment for the Panzerfausts. And also the sling for the MP40 that I added. See what I mean about changing in styles of the music? We've gone from a nice little guitar riff to blobby synth sounds. Just trying to work out where everything is on this model is so many belts. So he's actually got a strap here from the yoke. There. And a strap here, that's that curve, which is for the Panzerfausts. And then that's the other side of the yoke there. Oh, wavy. I think it has become time I need to clean my brushes. Because, yeah, this one's not playing along. Struggling to keep it in a sharp point. It's not my longest. It's the second longest of this type. So it has worn a little bit, but it shouldn't have worn enough for that to be a problem. I'm actually running out of this brush. I think I've only got one left. Oh no, I have two. I have two left. And I have my old Raphael 8404. And that poor thing, I did not look after that very well. Good grief. Yeah, that's a disaster right there. I can lift off chips of paint with my fingernail. That's how bad that. Also, I've got paint on my fingernail. That thumbnail. Right, let's switch over to that one, because this one should be a little easier to keep sharp. I say should be. But what should and what is need to sit down and work out who's in charge. I need to get that on a t-shirt. I've been saying that phrase a lot recently. What should and what is need to sit down and work out who's in charge. Oh, good news, this brush is no sharper than the other one and is also having trouble. In fact, just look at that. I'll just pull a couple of those hairs off. It's getting the job. Marketable material right there. I actually have secreted away on my computer somewhere a list of like phrases that I've used at some point that would be good on a t-shirt. So if I ever become super famous, which I never will, but it's assuming I would, in the alternate universe where that happens, I would have a bunch of comedic t-shirts that I could release. I don't even know how you would do that. I didn't even know how to go about that. This one has just so much in the way of teeth going on. Like, just look at those teeth. No idea what to do with those teeth. Do I paint them white? Do I paint them gnarly green? Hello, Oliver. Paint them synthwave, like the Hoistrecker. Yes, we have a synthwave Hoistrecker on the way. I just saw it before I started streaming. It does look very... It looks very. Which is gonna... Yeah, it's gonna be great once that one's done. What is that box on his back? It's attached to the back of his skull by a pipe. This is one of those units where I'm going to paint it bit by bit. And each time I'm like, what am I supposed to paint this thing as? What colour is this meant to be? What technique should I paint there? And just over the course of a long time, eventually get to a fully painted unit. For the Rift Weapon thematics. This one doesn't have a Rift Weapon. Hey Andre, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for popping past. So this one, originally... So this is the unmodified version. Has the double Sturmgewehr, which is not a Rift Weapon. I don't even think it counts as an advanced weapon. It's just a basic small arm. This time, it's the same sculpt. I've just swapped the weapon over for an MP40. Just tempted to paint that pipe in a darker brown. I have the impression that I think it might be asbestos pipe lagging was this really dark brown in the 1940s. Is it asbestos that I'm thinking of? I think it is now. Nathan says, if asbestos isn't meant to be ingested, why does it make my lungs feel so warm? I'm going to need to pick out all of those dog tags in black with a very careful application of brushwork. That's going to be more difficult. Like, look at... So that's the dog tag, but then you've got the chain of the dog tag going around there. Such a fine piece of detail. But even then, you've got all of this stuff going on their arms, and they've all got this kind of... Like, there's a cable there, there's a metal plate of some description. Some of them have horns and veins and just gnarliness going on. One thing we should talk about is the announcement on Friday from Warlord Games. They're doing plastic weapons teams now. Over the last few years, we've gone from a few light options being on the plastic sprues and then everything else being metal, to a lot of the weapons teams being CO cast. And now we have plastic sprues. It looks like everyone's going to get an anti-tank gun on one sprue, and then a second sprue with assorted infantry heavy weapons. So it'll be, I think the ones we've seen at the moment is medium mortar, medium machine gun. I think it was Panzerschreck, but I don't remember what the... Panzerschreck for the Germans, I don't remember what the Soviets got in that slot. Did I? I did not. There's a strap down the back of this box, whatever this box is for. Yep, looks like that's that. How much of this dark brown have I got? Not enough. careful of that edge. Don't want to get the dark brown on the skin. Luckily, I have this very nice painting handle that can position a model in exactly the orientation I would want it for a particular painting. Who knew? I think I've actually got a link in the description for my painting handle. If anyone cares to have more information. It's a very technical kind of, this is how it works, rather than an advertising, ooh, buy my stuff kind of thing. But right, what did I miss? I missed something on this one. Yeah. So that box on the back has a strap down the middle. Just two left. Alright, what do we got here? Gubbins and stuff. I think that might be 50 round belt cans for the MG42. Maybe. Can't really see them clearly. But it's a box of stuff on a strap. If it is, there's only two in there. Because they're basically the same size as that, right? They look it. If anyone has any better ideas of what that thing is, let me know. Just thinking how much of this I need to paint, how much of this squad I need to paint before I throw a wash on it. Because I'm going to be fairly light with the wash. So I've got a lot of colour in the skin, and I do not want to. I don't want to mute it too far. I mean, that said, I can always bring it back up. So it's probably not that much of an issue, realistically. probably want to do the metallics though. This guy just... it's over there somewhere. Either that or the enemy's in the ground. They actually have a very similar loadout to this guy. Not exactly the same, but very similar. Bit of a gap on this one. Should I pull him apart and reglue him? I did have my Dremel up here recently because I was doing something on another model, but alas, I am neat and tidy and I put it away. I'm not going to rush around and get that while I'm on stream. I'll do that later. So I should do... Most of the metalwork should be a dark metallic, dark steel, but then the dog tags, I really want them to be really bright and reflective, so they're going to be mithril. But do I undercoat the dog tags with the steel or with pure black? And does it matter? Maybe not. Are you seeing that there? That distinctly looks like the same colour as the trousers are highlighted with. That's odd. That must have been a... I must have slipped with the brush at some point to do that, because all of the skin colours here, the reds and purples and stuff, this was done with the airbrush, and then the trousers were painted on top with the normal brush. Interesting. I am yawning a lot today. I apologise. To be fair, I've just been yawning a lot in general. Oops. That's far too much. Do I want to be super fancy and do all of the buckles? Because there's a lot of buckles visible on these models. Or do I just do the guns and have done with it? Oh, that's going to take so long to do on all of them. What's everybody painting at home? Hopefully you've got some interesting stuff on the way. Just thinking about that scope, I don't actually recognise it. The weapon itself doesn't necessarily look that much like a Sturmgewehr either. The receiver certainly doesn't. The forend kind of does. The magwell's quite MP40 in a way. Oh, I have an MP40 down here, don't I? Yeah, it's almost like the magwell is a stretched out MP40 magwell. But then with There might be some other real weapons that it's loosely based on, but I don't know what they might be. I guarantee when I finish this, these buckles will just not be visible. All of my hard work for nothing. Seems like his visor should also be metal. It's hard to tell with the Nactalban, just like what bit is what. Like where does the visor end and the skin begin, and where does this pipe? I think this pipe's probably the easiest thing to identify, but. Yeah, this kind of aggressive painting is not helping my poor brush. This guy is very springy on his one leg. So's the robot as well. Long, thin legs just end up being wobbly. Probably going to wait until I've built up all of the other automatons. There's a high likelihood that I will get the when they're released, the one of the automaton sets. Not 100% sure which one just yet. Possibly just a Mark 1 infantry squad. Ah, we have a belted ammunition here, and that calls for only one thing. Do I have this brown still? Yes. Hello, Ratman. No, this view is still the webcam, the one I got recently, and that's still, that one there is still the webcam that I got 20 years ago. The new phone's doing a good job of being a phone, but I haven't thought about getting it into camera mode yet. Right, let's be very careful about this. Looks possible. Can I get case heads in the same way? How about that? Who needs sub-assemblies? Ah! I almost did that better than if I had sub-assembled it. Did just get a bit too much on... right there. much better. How's that for a nice belted ammunition in there? Keyhole surgery painting. Should I paint this whole box metal? Or like a dark military green? Also, I need to paint the stock a different colour because that's the wrong colour for the stock. NG42 stock is not metal. Ugh. My poor tan and my ochre paints. Partly to do with the pigments they're made of, and partly to do with the fact that I have used them quite a lot. Have, dried out. Also partly to do with the square pots. The square pots are not the worst paint pot on the market at the moment. They are the second worst. I am just stubbornly continuing to use gnarly old paint that I really should just throw away and get a new one. Yeah, this one's not going to do the job, I think. Oh no, that's actually... there's enough there. I am surprised at that. I really do like the Revell paints. I just don't like the pot. Excuse me for moving away from the camera there, that's a very awkward angle to see. Let's give that a second and then give it a second coat. Just on the big panels. Yeah, that paint still got it. I should not have counted it out so soon, so recklessly. Right, I do need to do those ammo cans, and then this one is done. Yeah, I'm not sure if they are the 50 round ammo can, the 50 round belt can, but I just can't think of what else they would be, because they're not the 100 round, and I don't see any reason why he would be carrying someone else's ammunition, given that he's the MG42 gunner. I was going to do the dog tags as well, wasn't I? Oh wow, messed that one up wildly. Yeah. Just wasn't concentrating, I think, on that one. Let that dry before I have another go, otherwise it would just spread paint around far too much. That's better. That's much neater. absolutely wrecking this brush painting in this way. Really, really not the ideal. Oh, this one's got the gubbins on his back as well. It almost looks like a gas mask filter. But there's no vents on it. And it also goes to his eyes, not his mouth. Maybe it's just a battery. Just think of what the kind of the size that batteries were at this point. And maybe it wasn't a big enough deal to give him some Riftech power source. So they just gave him a normal, like, acid battery kind of thing. What was the state of battery technology in 1947? Can barely reach any of the buckles on this guy. Oh, there's one there. Yeah, not the greatest of them. Yeah, I'm going to have to clean those up. That was not great. Pull him aside for the moment. There was one... Was it one of these guys? We did a buckle wrong. Nope. Yeah, I think it was this one. Right, that'll do for the metallics. This guy's Panzerfausts we can do. Green or tan? Or both? Yeah, look at that. Mixing that military dark green and a tan gives you a fair approximation of Dunkelgelb. I wonder if he knows how this thing works. Because he's not holding it in a way that he can actually set it off. I guess this just isn't a firing pose, he's just got it ready. Which is fun. Hey, Yulia, how you doing? I am quite tired, but I'm still getting some stuff done. I actually want to switch over to the Schwertruppen at this point because we've done some good work on them. I do think there's a couple more things we need to do on these guys before I put the wash on. But the Schwertruppen have already had their wash. Oh, also, Yulia, because you didn't see it earlier, Bendy Automaton. Because this is the ED-SKaR one. So, well, it's Warlord's mixing material for the ED-SKaR, and it's very, very flexible. Yeah, concentrate. Concentrate on painting. We can actually swap over to this one. So cool is it Warlord resin. So the Warlord call. So Warlord have actually not been completely consistent about this. They have said that the 2-part resin that they use is Warlord resin, and that their mix of material for the ED-SKaR machine is Warlord resin plus. However, I have seen fairly commonly that they use a different term or kind of overlap those terms when they shouldn't. These ones are metal. Isn't that? It is. So I'm pretty sure that I just highlighted this completely unmixed. So if I test it out on a leg, we can check and see if that looks the same. I think this bit's right, but there's another step to do. But I don't know what that step might actually have been. I may have to go back and watch my video on the Schwertruppen again to work out what step I've missed. What colour did I paint the this pipe. So I'm sure I painted. We discussed that on the previous stream as to what colour I would end up painting that. I think it's a dark steel, but I'm not 100%. I think that's close enough, actually. I might just finish it off and have another look, because there might be something I can do to bring them closer together. But I don't want to spend too long fighting with it and just kind of spoiling it. Ah, okay, Yuli. I will correct that. And yes, you're more than welcome in future streams as well. I do try to get people's names right, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to just read and then work out how it's supposed to be pronounced, because English is several languages in a trench coat, and so words that are spelled the same are pronounced differently just native, and that's before we start including words like whole words from other languages as well. English is not a phonetic language, and that's what I learned, so I do have quite the trouble just looking at a word and going, which way am I supposed to pronounce this letter and that letter? Yeah. But Yuli, yeah, we'll stick with that. How are we doing? We are still quite a bit darker. So what I can do is just put some subtle highlights in the middle of panels, because that doesn't necessarily look out of place, but it brings the overall tone up, because there's more of that highlight color as a proportion of the overall piece. So, but I need to make sure it's very thin, because if I just put this down and clean, it will not look right at all, like that. Yeah. So how has that helped? Oh, that's helped loads. Yeah. We're still a bit darker. We can probably go a bit more, but I don't want to push it too far. So let's carry on as we are. And once we've got this over the whole model, it might actually just be enough. And a bit of variation between models in a squad actually looks pretty good. So it does not have to be a perfect mix. Perfect mix, perfect match. Oh, that's actually his arm. Yeah, much better. Much closer. See, these are looking a little bit more green, actually. It's not a case of just being lighter. These are more blue and these are more green. And that may just be the way that I did the wash. Because I've got... I've got a brown and a black wash. And I know for a fact that this blue that I use on a lot of my German uniforms, if I wash it with this brown, it goes green. Because I think there's a yellow pigment in the brown that's bringing that that's kind of bringing out the mix. There's some pigment in the paint and in the wash that's interacting in a certain way. Yuli says, conflict question for you. Has your play group tried organising a campaign of any sort? If so, how do you go about it in terms of story, mission pack, and maybe RPG elements? So, yes, but not in the way that you're thinking, I think. 1 second, let's have a drink. So we want to maintain, in our group, we've decided this amongst the organisers, we want to maintain both Konflikt and Bolt Action to have regular formal events. And when we say formal events or structured events, we mean that it's in the format of a tournament, but it's not competitive. So it gives people the chance to play in a variety of ways. They can come along and kind of play a little bit competitively, but it's not about playing competitively. So they can bring silly lists like I usually do. But we also want to do, because the group as a whole is getting quite big now, we have enough people that we can start doing specialist events. So not just the formal kind of structured, organised tournament style, but casual event. We can actually start doing the narrative events. I did do a video on our first narrative event. It was okay. We had a few plans and I knocked them back a long way, and even then we were still kind of overstretched for what we had wanted to do. But in the long term, we actually want to link the narrative events together, so that anyone who is involved in one can be a part of that. But also when the next one happens, if they manage to go to that one, or if they don't manage to go to that one, they'll still hear the story, and so they're still going to see kind of how that progresses. But we are not doing anything in terms of list building. So it's not there's no RPG elements, there's no what's it called, escalation elements or anything like that. It is just a case of, this event is 800 points, this event is 1,000 points, or whatever. Bring your faction, tell us what your faction is in advance so that we can structure the narrative based on who is coming with what, and that's that. So people can, of course, bring certain units and have a grudge match if they want. But no, we're currently not doing that. What we commonly do with Bolt Action is play a very low points limit event day every so often. And it might be 600 points, it might be 800 points, something like that. And that just lets newer players jump in and learn the game. I did want, and we didn't actually manage to make it happen. I did want to do Konflikt 46.5. Which is essentially, it's essentially an escalation league, but instead of starting at 0 and building up to a full army, you start with a full army of Bolt Action, and then you slowly bring in units for Konflikt. But it seems that 2nd edition Konflikt doesn't really use historical units in the same way that first edition did, which is a bit of a shame, but I do like the direction it's going generally, so I'm not going to complain about it. Yuli says, often green miniature paint includes yellow pigment, especially for military colours. Yes, that's true. Yellow and often browns as well, just to mute it down, to give it that kind of earthy colour tone. What I really want is a really nice British racing green. Just like a really saturated dark green, like a rich dark green. There is absolutely no consistency to the order that I'm painting parts of this model. I started off on a leg, then I've ended up on a shoulder, now I'm on his neck. That is actually a very common theme in picking paints, either picking paints to buy or picking paints for a specific model, is that it's very easy to mute a paint or desaturate a paint, but it's very difficult to go the other way. This guy's missing a finger. Quick, send him to the totem core. I've got too many totem core at the moment. I've ended up with over 20 totem core and 12 Shibito. And I've got 10 zombies from my old RPG days. So I'm good for zombies. How are we doing? Very good, I think. Yeah, not much more to go. Ah. I think that's a pouch on his belt that is just completely unpainted, so I'll have to deal with that as well at some point. Yeah, at the moment I'm kind of just looking over the model for the darkest spots. Because I've obviously missed some bits going around. So rather than looking for kind of where I've highlighted and what the gaps are, I'm just looking for wherever's the dark spots. Because that will inevitably be the areas where I haven't coated it. I haven't highlighted it. Huh. So this is the officer model that I painted originally. And he's got on his throat a speaker that none of the others have. Just so that the officer can sound the loudest. Issuing orders. Actually, it kind of makes sense. I think we're just about there on this one. And then we've just got a third one to do. Yeah, putting them down with the rest of them, actually, they fit. You can kind of tell that one is more kind of green tinged than the others, but they're very close enough to be close enough for it to not be a problem. As I said, a little bit of natural variation between models makes a squad look that a little bit more interesting. We might need a bit more of this paint. Okay, number 3, binoculars. So what I need to avoid at this point, now that I know I need to go quite bright, kind of several layers of highlight, and then go around chasing the dark spots, what I don't want to fall into the trap of is thinking I know where I need to end up immediately and just making a real mess of a highlight on certain parts of the model as I go for my first round, because that's definitely a risk. So I do need to take it easy. I'm going to have to paint the stone riser like this. Oh, oh boy. So the stone riser is that massive thing with the plasma ball in all of the promotional stuff for Konflikt 2nd Edition. And I was going to design one and print one out. But then all the games have said that they're just going to release the STLs for the one that they made. Which is pretty cool. And that means that I'm going to just print that one. But I'm going to end up printing two. One for myself and one for our group. And someone has talked me into printing a third one, or rather most of a third one, so that we can have it destroyed as just scenery, terrain. Realistically, what will probably happen by the time I print two good ones, I will have enough misprints and broken bits that I can just use those as scenery, terrain. I used all that paint already. Yeah, this pot of paint is non-standard. Because I used this paint in my airbrush at one point, and I ended up with a lot of spare, and I didn't want to throw the spare away. Which is what you're supposed to do with an airbrush. It's like if you make the right amount, you don't waste too much. But I had quite a bit left over at the end. And so what I did is I ended up pouring it back into the paint pot. Meaning that this paint is actually quite dilute compared to how it used to be. Because you obviously dilute quite heavily for going into an airbrush. But there's also, I'm pretty sure there's some black paint in it as well. Not enough to make too much of a difference, it seems. Well on the way on this last one. Very close. I think I did push it a bit fast, but I didn't make a mess of anything. Didn't go too far anywhere. So it's alright. See if we can do some fingers. Not like that, we won't. That's a bit bright. Yeah, I made a mess of the hand there. See if I can recover that in a second. How's that looking? Yeah, that's looking much better. I noticed on these original ones, I've actually just painted the hands, other than poorly. I have painted them very bright. Like that almost. Yeah, that matches. So if I just go over the backs of the hands. How's that if I look at them all together? Can you tell which ones are the old ones and which ones are the new ones? Just about. You can tell that slight change of hue, but in terms of the overall brightness, like this is actually the darkest one of them, and this is one of the older ones. Yeah, I think we're good on that. I think we are where we need to be for the overall brightness of the armor. I guess we can do some metallics then. And this time with a bright silver. Ratman says that the new ones have slightly bigger shoulder armor. They look identical to me. Oh, this one is carrying a cable, if that's what you meant. Or if it was a reference to something, it may have been a reference that I missed. Something like you were a little short for a stormtrooper. I've actually painted stormtroopers as well. That was a while back. Is when you had them side by side. No, they are the same size of. I'm pretty sure that when Warlord Games made the first edition Konflikt stuff, they just made one digital posable version of a particular model and then just posed it a bunch of times to make the different versions. So all of the Schwertruppen are nearly identical. And I think they've added detail to the officers. But a lot of the time that was it. The one thing I'm noticing about with this particular webcam setup is because it's so wide. Like, the sensor is in the middle. So the sensor's in the middle here, and it's very wide side to side. So when I hold the model right here, the camera's in the way, so I try and lean over and pull the model over so that I can see it better, but now it's not in a particularly good part of the screen, so I have to constantly remind myself to push it back. Yeah, I'm not convinced that silver was the right option for the cable. Something with some colour would have been nice, given how otherwise uniformly dull these are. See, I've definitely done a good job because I'm looking at them on the table in front of me, trying to work out which one it is that I need to paint next. And that means that I got the armour close enough that it's not really obvious that they're painted differently. I am not in the mood for this song. There we go. Last one. Pretty sure these filter packs should not be a bright silver. I think these should be Bakelite, so like a dull plastic. Almost a brown, actually, I think. Good heavens, would you look at the time? It is gone 9 o'clock. You know what? I thought I was actually going to end the stream early. I was feeling quite tired. But I have managed to continue. But that does mean at 9 o'clock I will end the stream. Or rather, it's now gone 9 o'clock, but I'll end the stream shortly. So if anyone would like to ask any questions, any comments or anything about the models or something else, you're more than welcome to, and I'll answer them just before we end the stream. Please bear in mind there is a donation link in the comments of the video, because I do not have a Patreon or anything set up like that, because it's almost a waste of my time to set something like that up. I have another live stream coming next Monday, and I do have actually several videos in the works at the moment. Yuli says, do you run sword troops over steel troops? Sword troops and steel troops. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. Sword troops is, what, in the Japanese forces? I certainly think that it's worth taking the sword for every single squad, given that it's 2 points to give an NCO +1 pen in close combat. Unless you've got a auto translate, yeah. That could be a problem. German troops. Nope, I still don't understand. In Konflikt 47, I haven't actually finished. I haven't got a full playable army of Axis yet. I've got a whole lot of Stahltroopen. I think I've got like 15 or 18 of them. Yeah, it's showing auto-translate for me. Yuli's original message was, do you run sword troops over steel troops? And so I'm not sure. Can I turn the translate off? And does that help? Because I don't speak German, so it's not helpful. Ah! I can turn it off. Do you run Schwertruppen over Stahltruppen? That makes more sense. Yes, I was seeing an auto-translated version. Because you've said Stahltruppen and Schwertruppen, which are obviously German words, so it's translated it into... It's mistranslated it. Stahltruppen and steel troops make sense because that's what Stahltruppen means. But Schwertruppen doesn't mean sword troops. That means heavy, like heavy infantry, heavy troops. Or at least that was my understanding. So I have 7 Schwertruppen, which you are seeing all of them on screen right now. This is my entire collection of Schwertruppen. This is all of them. There is 1 light machine gun, and I'm pretty sure 1 guy has Panzerfaust. There you go. So the squad can have Panzerfausts. But otherwise, that's it. I've got a bunch of the Stahltruppen as well. So, yeah, I think I've got 18 of them. So that's like 3 or 4 squads, depending on how you split them. But I don't think I would actually run all of them at once. I think the Stahltruppen particularly are very expensive for a unit that can only really do one thing. And that thing is not die. And having a mixed bag of mutants is far more interesting for the Germans. So I've already got the Totenkorps zombies. I've got 20 of them, so I've got plenty of those. And I've got these guys here. Very gribbly looking Nachtalben. I actually like these. These are a bit like the ghost troops from the Japanese in a way. They don't have the dance, but they've got a lot of the other special rules are very similar. So I like these. But I think having some Schreckwolfen and possibly more likely putting some of the Stahltruppen in transports as well makes for a more interesting list than what I've currently got. It's not actually that bad. Stahltruppen, 1 squad of Schwertruppen, 1 squad of Nachtalben, and obviously I've got a bunch of the transports already. I've got 251 and trucks for days. How many Stahltruppen could you fit in a Stummel? Because the 251 Stummel is... It's transport 8, and so it would be 4 Stahltruppen. That's interesting. I think I might do that. I think the Schwertruppen here, they don't take up 2 slots. They just take up 1 slot on a vehicle. Because they're heavy infantry, but they're not like large infantry. But yes, I will be taking both Schwertruppen and Stahltruppen, but I will not be taking those as my only, like a fully heavy infantry army. I've seen a lot of people run like 30 Stahltruppen, and it's a bit much. Having a few fast-moving units, having a few mutants, especially things like the wolves, things like the Totenkorps, things like these gribbly guys. Yeah, that's a much more interesting way to play it. But having the officer version means I can run an officer in... Excuse me. I can run an officer in Shred Trooper armor, or I can run an officer in Style Trooper armor. I have both. I don't have the Totenrotte commander. I've just got the zombies themselves. So rather than running a Totenrotte list, I would be running a mixed bag list with Totem Core in it. Yeah. Right, yeah, so my videos upcoming will be... a lot of them will be the sprues that I got from the sprue sale, and particularly the vehicle kits, because I got 6 of them. What I used to do was to make one video of me building the kit and then a separate video of me painting the kit. But I found a lot of the times that my painting videos were essentially the same, going from one kit to another. It's like, oh, I painted in these particular techniques but used brown, and then in this other tank I painted in the same techniques but used green. And so making the same video over and over again wasn't that interesting. So what I might lean on doing is doing a build and paint as a single video, because that makes it kind of just shortens up the painting. I don't need to make an entire video on the painting when it's very similar techniques to before. I'm halfway through building at the moment the Lee. I've actually got some of the sprues still here, parts still not clipped off. The Lee's a really nice kit to build. Lots of lovely big chunky pieces. Then I also have videos on my Sasori and my Shibito that I want to make a kind of an overview of my overview video about my Shibito, because there's a lot of kit bashing went into those. Wobbly automaton. Right. I am quite tired, so I will finish up for the day. I will have a video, and I'm not sure which one. I think I'm leaning towards getting my Sasori video out, because then that means all of my Japanese videos are done. But I might end up doing one of the vehicle sprues, because I've already built a couple, so I can just edit those up and send them out. Yuli says, have you considered doing faction review videos? I think there's only Mordian reviews on YouTube, but it would be good to hear your opinion as well. So I could. I think I have done one on the Japanese. I think it was actually a live stream where I read through the army list. I don't necessarily like Mordian's style of that, but I understand the way he does it. It does make sense to do it that way. I would do it slightly differently because I have a different style. But I would also want to have used all of the units to actually have the practical understanding of how they play. And I just haven't played Konflikt enough. Like, I haven't played the Japanese enough to really do a full rundown of how the units kind of work and interact with each other. I've got a good view of the units I have used, and I've got a good... Like, I've been playing war games for 30 years. I can kind of look at rules and look at units and imagine how things are going to play. But that doesn't mean that I'm always right. So I don't want to just go through and say, this is a good unit because it will play like this. This is a bad unit because it's not doing anything. Without having used those units. Not just once, but actually in several games. My current thinking, just as an example of this, is when I first had a look through the Japanese list, I really hit upon an officer, 3 models in assault frame with the anti-tank launchers as being very, very good. But that's also 130 points, 129 points, I think. And I'm just not sure if 5 models without the officer is actually going to be better than the 3 models with the officer. And that's just one little example of that's quite an important thing to compare. Because what do you want your officer to do? Do you want your officer in assault frame with another squad of assault frame doing assault frame things? Or do you want your officer rushing around doing officer things? And I don't necessarily, and it's not necessarily that there is one best answer. There doesn't have to be a one best answer. But I want to play with all of these different options to see, just to confirm that my ideas work or not. So yes, I could probably have, once I've done a few more games, and this will be in a few months' time, I can probably do another overview of the Japanese list and compare what I thought originally with what I've discovered from having played them now quite a few times. And when I look at the other factions, what I could do is, when I move over from the Japanese to the British, which is what I'm probably going to be playing next, I can do a kind of just a read through of the list and say, this is what I think for each unit, then play a few games, and a few months later come back and say, okay, this is what I found from actually playing. The problem with that is that going through 5 factions that way, that's going to take years, literally years, because I need to play all of those games. Maybe more like, rather than the whole faction overview, kind of focus on a specific unit, because I can talk in depth about one unit and the possible ways of using a unit, and that means I only have to have played a few games with that particular unit in different ways, so that I can compare and say, like for example the ghosts, because I've had the idea of using ghosts as an anti-tank, like tank hunters, but then also you can use ghosts as almost like an area denial, where you've just got them dangerously behind cover. They can jump out and gun stuff down and then disappear, which means your opponent tries to avoid that area, so that particularly with weaker units. So there's the ghosts, especially for the Japanese. The ghosts are one of the most versatile units because you can do so much with them. And again, they're very similar to the Nacht'Alban, because the Nacht'Alban, highly mobile, highly survivable, not as survivable as something like Stahltruppen, but they have a lot of weapon options. So you can either dole them up with loads and loads and loads of small arms, so which is basically how they come originally, or you can give them all the Schwerlight MP40 and give them a pen value, or you can drag them back down to just having submachine guns each and using them as an anti-tank unit, because they can take the Panzerfausts. So in a similar way, maybe I can do this as a video, ghosts and Nacht'Alban, comparing them and seeing what's the similarities and what's the differences. What do they both do well, and what things do one do well but the other one doesn't? That might be an interesting video. But again, that does still take months to actually, for me to play enough games to be able to do that, because I don't want to just come up with theories and throw them out, because if stuff like that just isn't true, that just makes me look like an idiot. Yeah. What I will do for certain, and it might be next week's live stream or it might be the live stream after that, is every time I go to a game, I will come back and I will talk through the games that I've played, and that always will include particular units doing particular things. And that does mean, like, if I put the ghosts in a particular position so that they can do ghost things, if I put a unit of assault frames in a transport so that they can rush up and smash stuff, that becomes not necessarily a focus of the live stream, but it becomes an aspect of the live stream that I'm talking about what units are doing. Yeah, so next week live stream on Monday will probably be, it will either be painting or it will be the tournament review, because I'm going, and I think it's next weekend. If it's not next weekend, it'll be the weekend after, and so the live stream will be the Monday after that. And then in terms of videos, I'm thinking of making my Sasori this week's video on Saturday, but it might be one of my the vehicle builds. It'll be one or the other. Lots of stuff coming, lots of things happening. If there is any more questions, ask them quickly, or I will end the stream, because nearly 9:30 now. Mordian's probably started streaming by now. Alright, so I haven't actually finished any models, but we did a lot of work on them. We got the armour of the Schwertruppen, and we got a bunch of details on the Album done. So, good progress. But for now, Yuli says, all solid ideas. You're the most responsible content creator we've seen. Thank you. That's actually, I actually do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Given what certain content creators are like, I can think of a few that are just completely ridiculous, that go off on all sorts of nonsense. And then are proven wrong, but it doesn't they don't care because they're off doing some other nonsense immediately the next day. Yeah, I know that type of creator. I'm definitely not that. I don't want to. I do want to be more on the responsible side of things. Yeah, right. Let's end the stream. Thank you very much to everyone for coming. Thank you very much to everyone for chatting as well. And I will see you sometime soon.